Is San Antonio, Texas still affordable? Over the last year, it seems like the price of everything's been going up around here. Food costs more, gas costs more, my utility bills went up, and don't even get me started on what's going on with the home prices out here. In this video, we're talking all things cost of living and affordability in the San Antonio area, and we're getting into it right now. What's going on, family? This is Greg Foster here with Market Boss at eXp Realty right here in San Antonio, Texas. And if this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about living, working, eating, chilling, and playing in San Antonio, Texas, then click the subscribe button and tap that little bell so you're notified every time I drop a new video. And my team out here, we're getting calls every day from folks just like you looking into the Alamo City. So if you're thinking about moving or relocating anywhere in the San Antonio area, then give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, or click the link in this description to schedule a Zoom call with a member of our team. However you want to get a hold of us, we've got your back when moving to the San Antonio area. So if you've been doing your research on the cost of living here in San Antonio, then chances are you've been looking at some really old information. A quick Google search on the topic pulls up a slew of outdated websites dating anywhere back from 3 to 5 years ago. And even the first video I uploaded to this channel over a year and a half ago was pretty hard to get through when I watched it back this last week. Not just because it was my first YouTube video ever and I was looking all brand new, but because so much has changed over the last year to the point that much of it just wasn't true anymore. So without further ado, let's jump into the latest and greatest info on what it really costs to live here in San Antonio, Texas. First up, let's talk about housing. Your housing cost is always what makes up the largest portion for the cost of living for anywhere that you're looking at, and it's been the main driver for a lot of our clients who've been moving here from out of state over the last year. Now, if you're coming from somewhere in the Midwest, then San Antonio is probably more of a lateral move for you, with the home prices being either slightly higher or slightly lower than what you're used to seeing. But for the clients that we've been helping move here from the East Coast and the West Coast, the homes here are still a smoking deal, even with the prices being way up this year over last year. What hasn't changed about the housing market here in San Antonio is that there's just so many different styles, ages, and types of homes that are available here for you to choose from. We've got everything from suburban, master plan communities, still in construction, full of the latest amenities, to mid-century neighborhoods from the 50s and 60s with classic architecture and mature oak trees stretching high up into the sky, on down our historic neighborhoods with old world bungalows and cottages dating back more than 100 years with the kind of character that you just can't find in homes being built today. What has changed, though, is how much you're going to have to pay for those homes here. A quick search on Realtor.com shows that in the last year, the median home price in San Antonio has jumped from around $245,000 to $275,000. But that doesn't really tell the whole story. A closer look at their coverage map shows that's not accounting for smaller municipalities that aren't technically in the city limits of San Antonio, or the majority of the suburban areas most of the people are moving to just outside city limits. And it's in these neighborhoods out in the suburbs where you'll find the newest construction, the highest demand, the lowest property taxes, the best schools, and some of the stiffest competition from out-of-state home buyers. Numbers from the San Antonio Board of Realtors covering all of these areas show that median home price here is actually closer to $300,000, with the average home price in San Antonio currently sitting just over $350,000. 18 months ago, I gave an example of what you could find and what the mortgage payment looked like for what was then the average home price of $250,000. Well, today, $350,000 is the new $250,000, and while I know it's crazy to think about how you could end up paying $50,000 to $100,000 more for the exact same house in the span of a year and a half, that's exactly what's going on out here. We'll talk about what those $350,000 house payments look like in a minute, but to do that, the first thing we have to do is have a conversation about the tax situation here in San Antonio. Now, as I'm sure you already know, Texas is famous for not having a state income tax. Our tax policies are super business friendly, it's great for our economy, and it has a lot to do with the growth that we're seeing here with all of the businesses, the jobs, new industries, and all the celebrities making their way to Texas. The thing about it, though, is that if you're not getting taxed on income, then the state still has to figure out a way to generate revenue, which translates into higher sales tax and property taxes. So you're basically getting taxed on consumption. I grew up in Kansas where the sales tax was like 6.5%, which is a little lower than the 8.25% that you'll find here in the San Antonio area. Now, I'm not really missing the extra $1.75 on every $100 that I spend out here. I'd take that over income tax any day. But where you will notice a good sized difference is when it comes to your property taxes depending on where you live in the city. San Antonio sits in Bexar County, and if you're living in the suburbs just outside the city limits, you're looking at a property tax just under 2%. In the city limits, though, you're looking at a much higher tax rate of just over 2.7%. Now, I know 0.75% doesn't seem like much, but you'd probably be interested to see how it plays out, especially with the higher home prices that we're starting to see around here. For starters, most people are really surprised to see that their property taxes make up about a third of their mortgage payments when they move here, depending on how much they're putting down. And the monthly payments look a lot different on our average sale price of $350,000 to the tune of about $220 a month difference. And just to put that into perspective, you'd have roughly the same house payment on a $385,000 home in the county as you would on a $350,000 home in city limits. I mean, that's a difference of $35,000. That's a huge deal. That could be the difference between having an extra bedroom, an office space, an extra garage bay, maybe a larger lot for a bigger backyard, or living in a gated community versus not. And it's why when people reach out to our team about moving here, we always like to have an in-depth conversation about property taxes in different neighborhoods, especially our folks that are nearing retirement, because while you can always pay your mortgage down and pay it off, those property taxes are always here to stay. And you know you gotta heat and cool this thing, take showers, wash clothes, do dishes, and keep your grass green. So let's talk about utilities. Our average utility cost in San Antonio is still well below the national average. We're sitting at about 90% of what the average utility bills are in the rest of the country, and that just translates into pretty reasonable gas and electric bills throughout the year for everybody. Now, if you're like me and you like it really cold in your house, then you might have a slightly higher energy bill. Personally, I like it around 70 degrees inside. I don't really care what time of year it is. And I know most utility companies recommend you keep the thermostat around 78 degrees, which is downright crazy if you ask me, especially with these summers over 100 degrees out here. I've been out showing houses in the middle of summer before in these homes where the thermostat is in the high 70s, and it was like a sauna up in there. Now, after several years of going through a thermostat war in our house, I'm happy to say that we have finally found peace in our home. I wanted it at like 70 degrees. My wife wanted it at like 76 degrees. So we settled on a consistent 74 degrees during the day. And I know some of y'all out there doing the math like, it seemed like she got the better deal. But all I can say is happy wife, happy life. We do set it down around 70 though overnight while everyone's sleeping. And every now and then, I still drop it down to 72 degrees in the middle of the day when she ain't looking. I usually get in trouble for that though. All that's just to say that we tend to keep our house on the cooler side, and our energy bills usually hovers anywhere from about $150 to $170 a month for about a 3,000 square foot home. Except for in September, which for some reason is always our highest energy bill every year, just over $200. The water bill situation in San Antonio is a whole different kind of jam though. San Antonio water system has an 8-tier pricing structure that determines the water rates based on how much water you use every month. And if you use more, you end up paying more. A lot more. The magic number though is 20,199 gallons, which is about double what the average American family uses every single month. Anything over that pushes you into the 8th pricing tier, which is about 6.5 times higher than tier 1. And it's not taking showers, doing dishes, or washing clothes that gets most folks in trouble. It's their sprinkler system watering their yard every day. First of all, you ain't gotta water your yard every day around here. This Bermuda grass down here in Texas will grow on just about anything with a little bit of water. So if you hit each zone for about 5 minutes once or twice a week, that's gonna be enough to keep your yard looking really good. Anything more than that is just throwing away money. My family's water bill averages $80 to about $100 a month for a family of 4, taking extra long showers and watering their grass a couple times a week. But I've seen scenarios of $200 and $300 for water bills for people who have high usage, especially when there's a drought condition in the summer and we're with water restrictions. Those fees can get really out of hand if you're not watching it. As far as utilities go, water and power are the two big ones that take up the majority of the monthly expenses, but there's also trash and internet, both of which are going to run you about $50 to $60 a month. So if you take everything and add it all up, you're probably looking at anywhere from about $350 to $400 a month for utilities here in San Antonio. And last, but certainly not least, is one of my favorite topics, which is the food scene here in San Antonio. Now, if I'm just keeping it all the way real with y'all, my family and I spend way too much money on food. But that's mainly because we've got all these amazing restaurants around here. More on that in a minute. That, and it's just super easy to DoorDash pretty much whatever you want straight to the front door. But if you're going to do the financially responsible thing and make your food at home, then the food cost here in the grocery stores in San Antonio is sitting right at about 91% of the national average. So there's a pretty good chance that your grocery bill here is going to be lower than anywhere you're coming from. Now, we've got all the regular grocery stores out here like Super Walmarts, Super Targets, Costco's, and Sam's Clubs. We've even got a couple of Whole Food stores, which you really need to be careful about when you run up in there, because I don't care what you need. Anytime I go to Whole Foods, I always end up spending too much money. I can't even get a pack of gum and a bottle of water from out of there for less than $50. Somehow I always end up walking out with all this extra stuff that I just didn't even intend to get. Really, I don't know how that happens. But the thing that we've got here in Texas that you won't find anywhere else is H-E-B. Now, H-E-B is our very own Texas-based grocery store chain, and to put it mildly, they basically make every other grocery store out there look obsolete. And I talked in a lot of my other videos about how mind-blown people are when they move to San Antonio and shop here for the first time. Suffice it to say that you've got all kind of affordable options when it comes to grocery shopping. What you really need to watch out for, though, is how expensive it can get to eat out all the time if you're not keeping an eye on it. Entrees at most sit-down restaurants are in the $15 to $20 range, with appetizers and desserts usually around $8 to $10. House cocktails are right around $8 to $9, unless of course you want to step it up and do something on the top shelf. I mean, there's just something about Don Julio that makes me not really care about spending $16 on a margarita. Throw a nice tip on it, and my wife and I can get in and out of most sit-down restaurants for anywhere from $60 to $80. If you have smaller kids eating out the kid menu, spending less than $100 is totally doable, but both our daughters are teenagers now. One of them can drive, and they both think they grown. That is until it's time to order off the grown folks menu and finish all their food. I'd be like, you still got like $4 left on that plate? And they still be trying to get dessert. Going out as a whole family with appetizers, entrees, a couple of margaritas, 2 desserts usually sets us back about a good $100 to $120. Throw in a solid tip for good service, and I just expect it to be anywhere from $120 to $150 on the high side for the 4 of us to step out on somewhere nice on a Friday or a Saturday night. I think the most expensive place we ever eat at in town is probably Pappadeaux, and that's mostly my fault because their grilled Caribbean lobster tail is so good that they don't even put the price on the menu. Now, if you want any more information about the cost of living or what it's like to live here in San Antonio, my team and I, we're getting calls every day from folks just like you looking into the Alamo City, and we absolutely love it. So if you're thinking about moving or relocating anywhere in the San Antonio area, then give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, or click the link in the description and schedule a Zoom call with a member of our team. However you want to get a hold of us, we've got your back when moving to San Antonio, Texas.